everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Annassa. So happy to see you this morning. Let's start with meditation. So take your attention inside. Close your eyes. Take your attention all the way down to where your energy field meets the dirt. This will ground you into your environment and your relationship with Mother Earth. Breathe into that space. Try to hold your attention in that space where your energy field meets the dirt, and don't allow it to go anywhere else. Just hold your attention there. And then you breathe into that place where you're holding your attention and feel for some expansion. You can say, I am that, if that's comfortable for you to say. Because it's truly this space of stillness, this space of no thought, that we want to take our attention to. When you're ready, gently bring your attention to the tip of your tailbone. Your tailbone is an upside down triangle. And so the tip is at the base, at the very bottom of the triangle. That's what we're feeling for. And you breathe into that space. I am that. When you're ready, take your attention up to the energy center just below your belly button. Breathe into that space I am that. Hold your attention there as you breathe. If your attention wanders, bring it back to that space. A lot of what we're cultivating in meditation is the capacity to hold our attention in the place of our choice. It is this capacity that allows us to overcome a lot of our darkness by taking our attention out of it. Where we put our attention is what grows. Breathe into that space just below your belly button. Gently allow your attention to rise up to your solar plexus, just right where the V of your rib cage happens, just below that, in the front of your body. And the energy center is in the middle of your body. Breathe into that space. I am that. Hold your attention there. When you're ready, gently allow your attention to rise to your heart center in the middle of your chest. I am that. When you're ready, gently allow your attention to rise up to your throat center. Breathe into that space and hold your attention there. I am that. If your attention wanders, bring it back. Breathe into your throat center and feel it expand. I am that. When you're ready, gently take your attention to your third eye, behind and between your eyebrows, a little bit above that space in the center of your head. Hold your attention there as you say, I am that. When you're ready, take your attention to the top of your head. Breathe into that space and feel it expand. There is a flower there with 1,000 petals that opens to receive pranic plasma. from the fields of divinity. Open to this shower of love, pure raw love, falling on you, nourishing your entire bioenergetic field. As you open yourself to receive, allow this divine, pure, raw love to just pour onto you as though you're standing in the shower. Hold your attention there. Breathe into that space. I am that. If your attention wanders, bring it back and hold it there. Allow your being to be filled with this pure golden white light as it heals every cell in your body. Every cell becomes completely permeable to this loving white light. Gently allow your attention to rise to the space above your head where your fingertips would touch if you made a halo around your head. Hold your attention there. Breathe into that space. I am that. Now allow yourself to become aware of the energy in your central channel, the middle of your being, that rises up and comes out the top of your head. Then it expands in 360 degrees around your body as it showers down and around you, gathers at the bottom of your biofield and makes its way up to your body, your central channel, and completes this circuit, which is continuous. When your perception gets a little more refined, you begin to understand that it goes in both directions, 360 degrees at all times. This is one of the pathways of the circulation of life itself through our body. Hold your attention in the center of it and allow yourself to perceive the whole of it. As you say into your own center, I am that. We'll sit in this space for a few minutes, all the while holding your attention in your heart center, which is the center of all of it. As you're ready, gently bring your attention outward so we can begin our communication together in the field of Zoom. So happy to be with you today. All the way from Hawaii. So as we gather, we're going to talk a little bit about attention and how important it is to begin to be able to focus our attention. Because when we're in emotional or psychic pain, where we put our attention is still what grows. So if we focus on that pain, which is ultimately the pain of our growing union, but if we focus on it as really the potential for our downward spiral, because it does hurt. If we focus on it that way and interpret it as something that we are enduring and get more and more contracted around it, then this is what we are growing. Instead of focusing on the potential expansion through it, the breathing through it, the allowing of life to continue to flow through it, which is the hardest thing possible to do. It's really, really difficult. Now, I'm not telling you that it's difficult because I want you to be afraid of it, but because if you understand that it's difficult, when you experience it as difficult, it's not a surprise. And even though we have lots of surprises in our life, that's one we don't really need. But if we expect it, then we can allow for it and know that the antidote is our breath and the flow that we've been cultivating in these meditations to actually keep that going, to keep our awareness of it going so that we don't get stuck in the contraction. Because that's what it is. It's a contraction. And it's kind of part of the laws of love, the laws of nature, that when something expands, it will contract in its equal and opposite flow. And so when we expect that contraction and we allow for it, we know it's coming. And as we feel it begin to take over our mechanism, we can use our focused attention to breathe through it and try to melt our resistance, our reaction, so that what we're dealing with is just the contraction itself, not our self-rejection. That generally comes when we feel ourselves contract and we're like, oh no, I've failed again. This is not failure. This is just nature being itself. We expanded. We had a completely new experience of ourselves as pure energy. And then when that natural pure energy contracts, which it always does, we judge ourselves to have failed. We neither controlled the expansion or the contraction. We allowed both. But what we end up doing when we pay attention to the contraction and judge ourselves for it is we prolong it, we intensify it, and we turn ourselves into a victim of our own spiritual judgment, because we want to be expanded in love and light all the time. And life is both. Life is always both. You know, for some brief periods, we'll be in that love and expansion and beauty and ecstasy. And then when it disappears, we feel like we're lost. Where did that go? I failed. I'm not in love, peace, joy, and gratitude anymore. The truth is, we are always in all of it. It's our attention that changes. And why it changes is a lot because of our reaction to what is a natural phenomenon. And so it helps to have this understanding. So we thought we'd share that with you first thing, because it was coming to us as we were working on holding your attention and sort of having that come through. So we welcome your questions. Thank you so much for being here this morning. We love this. How may we serve? We see a beautiful blue sky in Hawaii. Looks nice. Wow. We're just seeing more blue sky and palm trees and Hawaii. How great. Green and blue. Anything, Brenda? Anybody? Mm. Sure.
Holding attention. A lot of distractions out in the world, since particularly now, you know, Afghanistan, wildfires, COVID, politics. It's very, very distracting. There are moments you have a practice, and, short periods of time, I can focus my attention as best I can. But kind of sustaining that through the day and not getting overwhelmed and distracted by all the shit that's going on. How do you know?
So the question is, in this time of really a tremendous amount of negativity that's been brought to our awareness as we sit with the news every day, and the list is pretty endless: Afghanistan, COVID, Delta, everybody in reaction. The list goes on: fires, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes. These things are all brought into our environment as we open ourselves more and less to the media. So what can we do? What can we do? We can work ourselves into a kind of hysteria about any one of those things. And lots of people around us are doing it in reaction, in fear. There's still lots of debate about the vaccine in some circles, and very hot feelings all over the place about these issues. And you can't really have a conversation on social media about any of them because everybody's so reactive. Families are being torn apart by these reactions. Relationships are getting burnt to a crisp because people are feeling so strongly about all these things. They feel more strongly about them than relationships they've cultivated for decades. This is the kind of conflict that has been stirred by the energies in our environment. And this may be the personality of the virus itself that's infecting our psyche and creating gigantic discord. And that, because of our empathic natures, we can't escape from. But we can recognize it. We can recognize it as something that calls us to sit down and become clear about our purpose and how we choose to spend our energy and our attention in any given moment. Because as we've been speaking for some time now, the only way we can truly make a difference in this world with our lives is to become and maintain union with our own divinity. It doesn't matter what's happening around us. That is still the purpose of our lives. That is still the only thing that's going to make a difference for anyone, is our connection to our own energetic being, to our own flow, to the source of love that exists for every human being. Do you think that our letting go of our awareness of that source of love in any way serves the whole? If our survival in this moment is at stake, then yes, we must pay attention to our survival in this moment, and we must address whatever is threatening our survival in this moment. That is always clear. But when our survival is not at stake, when we have the potential to be quiet and gathered in our own strength and going deeply within ourselves to experience the love that is at the center of our being and to merge with that source energy and become that and offer that first of all to ourselves. Because if we cannot love ourselves, we can't begin to love another. So the first person we must serve with this love is ourself. And then having that point of rest in our own hearts, that point of quiet, that point of focused expansion, having that inside ourselves, we can begin to expand that field and allow it to touch every life that our life touches in any given moment. The practice doesn't change because of the intensity of the environment. We can allow the environment to make us crazy and distract us from our work. Or we can allow it to serve as a reminder to intensify our efforts. Because if we don't do it, it's not going to happen. It's as simple as that. The quality of our life and every life around us depends on the intensity of our effort. So this is really a call to action, not a call to act out in the world, but a call to act inward in our world to become deeper, more aligned with our source energy, with the source of love itself, pure, raw love. And you know, the simplest reason to do it is because it feels good and nothing else does. That's the truth of it. That's really the truth of it. Now, it doesn't always feel good because as you expand, it rips you up and puts you back together and rips you up and puts you back together. And that's the process. And wherever you are in that process, you know that it's temporary. So you can completely enjoy it. And you can cry when it hurts. It's okay. Because that's part of it. It's all part of it. But you can be at peace no matter what part of it is passing in front of your awareness, because you understand that underlying all of it is pure, raw love, and that every minute that you spend in service to the discovery of that pure, raw love is a great gift. First of all, to yourself, and secondly, to humanity, all of humanity. So we hope that answers your question.
dealing with the world. I mean, everybody has to deal with the world in some fashion.
Absolutely, everybody does.
Equanimity, it's just full-time job.
It is. And you know, a lot of why we're aware of it all is because, you know, our technological capacity has been so expanded that it's all happening in our living room. It's happening in our living space because we have access. We do always have the option when we need to gather ourselves to hit the off button and walk away. We don't have to live in people yelling at us about what we should care about. Which, if you walk away from the news and you just look across the room and you feel what is coming out of that television, it's people yelling at us about what we need to care about. Now, don't you think that it's worth our intelligence and our effort to sit back often in our day and say, what do I really care about? Is this awareness of people shouting at me, is this important to me? And then, you know, maybe you read your news instead of having it shouted and see what that feels like for a time. Because, you know, you don't have to participate in these energies with the intensity that they're being expressed. Because that intensity is about controlling your attention. And who benefits from controlling your attention? Any forces that want to keep us asleep, any forces that want to disempower us by taking away our choice to grow our inner humanity. People who are in touch with their own divinity are not controllable because they know from inside themselves what's right and what's wrong and what's important and what's not in any given moment. And if they don't know, they know to be quiet and breathe until they do know. And so who among us would not want to be that person? That person who's not driven to hysteria by exposure to the media. Now, we're not advocating that you become unaware. There is such a thing as social responsibility, but that can take, 15 minutes on your phone reading one credible newspaper. And the rest of your life doesn't have to be driven by that. We don't mean to be so strong, and yet we do mean to be this strong, because if we don't do it, who will? If we don't hear it and listen and live deeper in ourselves, who will? It would be wonderful if someone would come and rescue us. The odds of that happening are slim to none. We have to rescue ourselves. And that's what we're talking about, is rescuing ourselves so that we can live with some sense of joy, at least part of the time. That we can be connected to our environment, that we can grow flowers around ourselves, that we can have birds and insects in our environment, living things, that we can appreciate our connections to the ones we say we love. that we can actually experience those connections on a regular basis and deepen them and enliven them with our focused attention. We can actually live in the love of those we cultivate around us. And if not that, in the love that we cultivate within ourselves, which is the most precious thing we could ever discover. There is nothing, 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 nothing more precious than discovering the love inside of us, the love that is the source of our life. And feeling that expand below our belly button, expand in our heart, expand in our third eye. Open that flower at the top of your head and feel that divine shower of pranic plasma. Hold your attention in the union with divine love. What can be better than that ever? 1 second of that changes our lives. It pulls us in and we need to know more. And then the simplicity of it seems like, well, how could it be so simple? Why isn't everybody doing it if it's that simple? And yet, we ask that question all the time because it is that simple. Why isn't everybody doing it? Because it's not easy. It takes practice. It takes practice and it takes a fair amount of dedication and the willingness to hit the off button and some of the input that's coming into our lives to actually create a space where we can be quiet and connect to that which is really important inside us. Thank you so much. That's such an important question. How may we serve further? Yes.
Can you expand on the focus of I am that?
Oh, sure. At our core, we are pure radiant light. But because we've been distracted, most of us for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, there is a lot of density and contraction and layers of accumulated debris between us and that awareness. That awareness itself is beyond our language, beyond the capacity of our language to express it. So when we speak of it, we call it that which is beyond. And so when we say, I am that, we are identifying our source as something beyond our imagination. Because our third dimensional language cannot contain, our linear perspective cannot contain the all that is, which is beyond our imagination. So what we are really cultivating inside ourselves, inside our awareness, is that which is beyond. That which is beyond our imagination, beyond our language, beyond our sensory experience. So we are cultivating an extrasensory experience, which we can most easily point to as light. So when we say, I am that, we are identifying ourselves as in union with that source of all creativity. And our own body, of course, is an example of that creativity. We can't even fathom all the parts and all the workings in one moment in our body. Our body is beyond our capacity to understand. It's so far beyond our capacity as one human being to understand that even as physicians, all the parts of the body are broken up into different pieces because it's very difficult to understand even one part, let alone the whole. So when we want to contemplate the whole of that which we come from, the creator of everything that we experience, when we truly want to cultivate awareness of that, the only way we can refer to it is that which is beyond. We can call it that because we know it's not this. And yet, at the same time, we know we are completely connected to it no matter what we do. So it's not something other. So when we want to tell the truth about what we are at our source, all we can say is, I am that. I am that which is the source of what I am. And you know, of course, Descartes had it backwards. I think, therefore I am. No, I am. Therefore I think. Therefore I feel. Therefore I experience. I am. And I am that is just telling the truth that we have no idea. We have no language for that source of what it is we are, because it's beyond our capacity of language to describe it. And when we experience it, it's still beyond the language because it's just that. Not just that, it's that. There's no quantifying or qualifying. I am that. It's the truth. That's the truth of what we are. And that isn't other. It's the source. It's what we are. I am that. We hope that answers your question. It's the best we can do today. How may we serve further? This is the problem. It's really hard to share with you, and yet you can feel the essence coming through us that is pointing to. That essence of life itself, that cultivation of source, that awareness of something that feels really, really good as it expands in us. That's what we are. I am that. Why would we do it if it didn't feel really, really good some of the time? And then more of the time. And then even more of the time. Until we are that. And that is always going to be doing this. Always, always, always. The trick is to recognize that when it's doing this is not different from when it's doing this. And that's called equanimity. When we get to the center. And what else looks like this? What else goes in and out? It's our breath. And our breath is teaching us at every moment that the center is in between. the in-breath and the out-breath. The equanimity is in between the in-breath and the out-breath. The union is in between, in the center. And that center is where we put our focus. And when we hold our focus in the center, it suddenly drops us into the stillness. That is the core of everything that is. And that stillness has a potency to it, a pregnancy, which at the very least is our next breath. At the very most, it's our next life. It is source. And source is the bridge underneath every experience. It is what we truly are. And to experience that is to go beyond fear, because it's to go beyond life itself and death itself. It's to understand that life and death are the same experience. What's alive about us doesn't die. It is in cultivating this deeper awareness that we become. And becoming is as inexplicable as I am that. Because becoming is union with that, living union. And for a long time, we run in and out of that room. And then at some point, we just settle down into that. How may we serve further? Hmm. Wow, can you hear that? That was my stomach. That was pretty funny. Mm. How may we serve? That's distraction. The sublime to the ridiculous. David, I'm so happy to see you well.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, you look fantastic.
Oh, thanks. I'm a little bit late, but hopefully not too late.
No, that's okay.
And
Just
Lily
happy to
just,
see you.
yeah, happy to be here. Lily just chimed in.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So how may we serve? Hmm. So we'll say a little bit more about what's going on and participating. You know, my mother used to say, when I was a kid and really worry about something, she would say, will it matter in 100 years? That was her criterion for whether or not something was worthy of worry. And you know, there's some wisdom in that. But the truth is, a lot of what's going on will matter in 100 years. So that doesn't really let us off the hook. But how much can we do about any of it in this moment? This is the real fundamental question. Is our action or inaction going to make a difference? And if it's going to make a difference, what kind of difference is it going to make? And then the further question is, where's the leverage point for us to make the most difference over the longest period of time? Where is that leverage point? And we would say to you that that leverage point is inside you. And the only thing that makes a real difference long term is your connection to that which is at the source of everything that is. And that in cultivating that connection and becoming becoming in union with that source, that changes every life that you have ever been in contact with. Because when you are completely centered in the now moment, there is no longer any past and there is no longer any future. And if you are completely connected to that which is the source of everything in the now moment, the past and the future no longer exist and are forever changed by your union. And that is very difficult to get into language and even more difficult to get into understanding. But this is what we're trying to tell you, is that that union, which is available to every human being, it's a lie that only 1 in 3 billion people can ever experience that. That is the biggest lie ever told to humanity throughout time and space. That is available, that experience is available to all of us, each and every one of us, and just requires the cultivation of dropping our attention between the breaths into that source energy long enough for us to begin to sustain the experience of union in the now moment for 1 second. And that changes our perception forever. And having experienced that once, we understand that that's the purpose of our life. And then we begin to cultivate and grow that awareness of I am that. How may we serve further?
How can we then, or how can I, let me ask for me, hold the space for myself and for others in work where our job is specifically to deal with the health crisis, for the public, to address the houselessness and encampments, to assist those people in it, to deal with the weather situations and making sure people are safe. So living at the apex of seeing that stress, there's a better term, but in people who cannot turn off the TV, and this is our job. And my awareness here makes me know that I have a responsibility for myself, and then how can I hold that for myself? And
So here's the thing. So the question is this: when you're in it, and you have a job in it all day, every day, what do? Well, the first answer is you don't run around in it. You don't let your mind go in it. You don't let your emotions go in it. You, first of all, the first person to save is yourself. So you hold your attention inside yourself. And you find that center, which you know very well, and you hold to that center, no matter what's happening around you. You hold to that center because you know that your own salvation is in that center, first of all. If you get rocked, then the whole situation is rocked because you're the only one who can really hold the center. So you have to hold your own center, no matter what. And if you lose your center, you excuse yourself, you go to the bathroom and you breathe. We're assuming that's the only place where you have true privacy. And you just breathe until you, and for you, the center's just below your belly button. We're talking about the heart center a lot because that's where we feel. And it is in our love that we can share the love that we experience. But when we're in a situation that involves a lot of complexity and confusion and many, many different energies, the place to hold our center, the true center of our body, is just below our belly button, because then we are free to act, but we're free to act from a very grounded place. And this is the most grounded place we can be, is with our attention just below our belly button. Most of us were trained that whenever there's any kind of intense experience, all of our energy goes to our head, because we think the only way that we can find a solution to anything is between our ears. That's another lie. The real solution is when we have our attention where we have access to all our senses, not just the words. But the real solutions come when we are much closer to our source energy, which is in our gut, right below our belly button. There is a lot to be said for gut feelings and the truth of gut feelings. So when we have our attention, yes, when we have our attention there, then we have the capacity to actually hold space. And when we hold space, that's the word for having our attention below our belly button, when we're in the midst of chaos and confusion that surrounds us. We hold space and we allow for that chaos and confusion. We just allow it to be, but we don't have to participate in it. That's what holding space means. And then when you hold space, you notice that when someone else enters your space, they feel held, and they might take a deep breath and begin to hold space too, because that space has power. It takes everyone in it to that grounded space. So the force of your attention in that space has power. And every decision that comes from that powerful space is going to be more aligned and better for the whole than any decision that comes from between anybody's ears. Because between anybody's ears, it's going to be data points. And you know very well that data points cannot encompass the whole. The only thing that can encompass the whole is awareness of the whole. And the way you get the closest to awareness of the whole is to hold space, because then you are holding yourself in the whole. And in that holding space, the quality of decision making that will take place will be far finer than anything else. Does that make sense to you? We see you feeling that center. We actually see everybody feeling that center right now. And that's a wonderful thing. This is where we make our choices from about how to act in this moment when we're under pressure and we must act. The best decisions we can make are going to come from this space. Anybody who's ever been an athlete knows that this is the space you have to occupy to be able to react from the knowingness of your physical being. That when you hold this space, you know, if you're a martial artist or a tennis player or a football player, any sport, when you hold this space below your belly button, you are ready for anything. You balance on the balls of your feet. You feel yourself in your body, and you can feel your physical sensory awareness expand from this space. This is where you make important decisions from, because it encompasses your entire being. We're so grateful for that question. Thank you. So we're going to take the next few minutes for another meditation, because we feel like the best use of us is to share our field with you so that you can become the all that is, so that you can truly be living from that. So we're going to just transmit, we'll take the just out. We're going to transmit this field to you. And we invite you to pick up at the end of the last meditation, at the beginning of the program, and allow yourself to sink into that awareness. And we encourage you to use the mantra, I am that, in whatever way feels right to you as we go back into a meditative state. So we'll hold our eyes open. Please do whatever feels right to you. This is an open eye transmission that you're welcome to participate in any way you wish. You can have your eyes open or closed, your camera on or off. We will transmit for a few minutes until the end of our program. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. We've completely enjoyed every second of it. Such a gift to be with you. Till next week.